All right, another spark and another build, another turn, another tale in the making. Today we're tackling something big, and frankly, something horrifying.
We're going deep into the code of tools and titans, past the noble tool titans, past the tragic fallen ones. We're talking about a faction engineered from the ground up to break the game itself.
We're talking about the Rustborn Quintrinity, an engine of pure entropy. It's a topic so complex, it almost feels like it defies the game's core principles. But before we descend into that madness, let's reset with those very fundamentals.
It's always a good idea, because no matter how twisted the strategy gets, it all begins here. For anyone new joining us, you might be wondering, what's the core of this game? It's simple, elegant, and powerful.
It's the foundation for everything we're about to discuss. So how do you play Tools and Titans? Easy. Draw your cards,
Charge your energy,
build your field,
act with your powers,
clash with your Titans.
end your turn.
6 steps, one epic battle. Hold on to that structure. That simple 6-step process, because the Quintrinity is designed to shatter every single part of it.
Exactly. We now uncover one of the most mechanically complex and narratively chilling groups in the entire TNTTCG, the Rustborn Quintrinity. They are an elite faction, forged to mirror and completely annihilate their counterparts, the tool-touched Quintrinity.
And we need to be clear here. These 5 are not echoes or tragic accidents. They aren't titans who fell from grace through some moral failing. They are entropy incarnate, forged from pure corruption, recursive abuse, and what can only be described as anti-innovation logic.
They are anti-tool intelligence constructs. Each one was manufactured deliberately, twisted from corrupted lab cores, malformed tool blueprints, or even weaponized atmospheric anomalies. They didn't evolve. They were designed.
A purpose-built nightmare. So let's introduce them. Who is the first of these 5 horsemen of the apocalypse?
First, you have Sinterra. She is the corrupted mirror of Printheon, the master of 3D printing and rapid creation. Sinterra represents anti-3D printing. Where Printheon builds stable, useful constructs, Sinterra creates flawed, unstable echoes that are designed to crumble.
So if you're a Printheon player who loves building a wide board of tokens, Sinterra is your direct counter. She turns your strength, creation, into a liability.
She makes you fear your own engine. Then there's Veinlash. He's the corrupted mirror of Eroglin, the titan of wind and precision flight. Veinlash is all about twisted atmospheric control. He turns orderly air currents into pure, scattering chaos.
I think I can see where this is going. Eroglin is all about precise placement, moving your tools and allies exactly where you need them. Veinlash just throws them into a hurricane.
A hurricane with intent. Your key tool might be flung to an isolated zone, or your defender moved away from what it was protecting. He dismantles strategy by destroying geography. Next is Rivgore.
The name alone sounds vicious. I'm guessing he's the counter to Codavance, the titan of programming.
The very same. Rivgore is anti-code, a walking deletion protocol. Codavance builds elegant chains of commands and abilities, but Rivgore's entire purpose is to insert bugs, erase text, and corrupt the very logic of the game.
Terrifying. Okay, who is number 4?
Boilgrim, the volatile pressure detonator. He is the dark reflection of Vesvalder, where Vesvalder carefully contains and controls pressure for constructive means, like powering massive engines. Boilgrim builds pressure only to create catastrophic, uncontrolled explosions.
So he's a walking time bomb. He punishes players who like to build up a big, stable board state over time.
He makes stability a dangerous illusion. And the 5th, the final piece, is Nulspore. Nulspore is the parasitic counterpart to Revanail, the titan of rebirth and restoration. Where Revanail heals and brings back allies from the junkyard whole and renewed, Nulspore is a parasitic regenerator. It doesn't heal, it infests.
A death recycler? It takes the concept of rebirth, something so hopeful, and turns it into a plague. So these aren't just characters. They're autonomous decay protocols, given form.
And that leads to what they truly represent. Philosophically, they are the apex of the Rustborn agenda. It's not just about corrupting existing titans anymore. It's about outthinking them and ultimately replacing them.
It's total recursion failure. It's like each one is designed to mock a noble, tool-touched concept by exposing its most fatal flaw.
Precisely. It marks a terrifying progression in the lore. The Rustborn went from simple corruption to imitation, and now to what they see as inversion supremacy. These are trades turned violently against themselves.
Self-printing becomes unstable, shattering clones. Precision flight becomes random, chaotic scattering. And code becomes anti-code, designed only to erase. They don't just destroy things, they unmake the very patterns and logic behind them.
They disassemble memory. They overwrite utility with decay logic. It's insidious because it attacks the player's confidence in the rules of the game.
So when did this nightmare begin? What event was so big it required the creation of these anti-titans?
The Quintrinity was created during a period known as the Echo Collapse Epoch. This was a time when their counterparts, the tool-touched Quintrinity, were fundamentally reshaping engineering across the land. They were creating new doctrines for the Forge Accord, pushing innovation to its limits.
What were they doing that was so revolutionary?
They were stabilizing reality. Printheon was creating self-repairing structures. Aeroglin was charting safe atmospheric lanes. Codavance was writing incorruptible code for the central forges. They were fixing the world. And in response, the Rustborn tacticians, led by Rustara and Fusure, activated the Entropy Symmetry Protocol.
Symmetry. A perfect, dark mirror. So they took the blueprints of creation and inverted them. These are calculated, engineered counter-creations, weapons, designed for a very specific war.
A war for reality itself. And they each dwell in a place that reflects their nature, volatile entropy nodes that are dangerous even to their own allies. When you play in these locations in the campaign, the board itself is trying to kill you.
Let's talk about that. What's it like to play in Sinterra's lair, the broken print field?
Imagine any time a creature or token enters the field, it has a chance to spawn a shattered echo next to it, a zero attack, zero health token that immediately dies, triggering any negative death effects on the board. It's a field of constant, cascading failure.
And Veinlash's Atmoshard Spire?
At the end of every turn, a die is rolled. Based on the result, a random row or column of the game board is hit by a wind shear, and every card in that line is randomly swapped with another card on the board. Planning your positions is almost impossible.
That's pure chaos. What about the null core cavity, Rivgore's home?
That might be the most psychologically damaging. In that zone, whenever a card is played, it enters the field with its text box blank for one full turn. You can play your Titan, but it's just a body. Its abilities are gone until your next turn, leaving you completely vulnerable.
Wow. Okay, Boilgrim's Red Steel Pressure Forge?
Simple and brutal. Every card played adds a pressure counter to a global pool. When the pool reaches 10, every single structure on the board is destroyed, both yours and your opponent's. It forces a constant, frantic pace.
And Nulspore's Blightroot Engine? Let me guess, something with the junkyard?
Whenever a card is put into any junkyard, its owner takes 1 point of blight damage. It turns the entire cycle of playing and losing cards into a slow, inevitable death by 1,000 cuts.
Okay, this brings us back to that core loop. Every Titan turn, draw, charge, building act, clash, end, 6 simple steps. But in these places, and against these Titans, every step is a landmine.
That's the perfect word for it. They turn the game board into a minefield. This is why they matter on the tabletop. They are engineered counters to some of the most popular deck archetypes. They punish support decks, recursion decks, and optimization decks.
So they redefine what disruption means. It's not just about blocking a card. It's about turning your opponent's entire strategy into a weapon against them.
Exactly. Let's break down their core mechanics in more detail. We mentioned Sinterra's echo spawn loops. In gameplay, this means she has cards that say, when this Sinter spawn dies, your opponent must discard a card, or when this Sinter spawn dies, create 2 more. It's a chain reaction of decay.
A hydra of garbage. You cut off one head, 2 more take its place, and they're both on fire. What about Veinlash's atmospheric scatter zones? How does a player control that chaos?
The player doesn't. Veinlash does. He has task cards that might say, relocate target enemy tool to the zone with the most enemy structures, effectively feeding it to the wolves, or scatter all unequipped tools to random zones. He's not just moving things randomly, he's moving them from safety to danger.
And Rivgore's ghost script deletion. Let's dig into that. How does it work? Is it permanent?
It varies. Some abilities are blanks that last for a turn. Others place a null counter on a card that says, this card's text is treated as blank as long as this counter is on it. The most powerful Rustborn Flux cards can permanently erase an ability from a card for the rest of the game. It's the ultimate shutdown.
That's devastating. Okay, Boilgrim's Volatile Oaths. This creates so many mind games.
The cards will literally read like a threat. Volatile Oath. If your opponent plays more than 2 cards next turn, destroy their Titan. Or, if your opponent doesn't attack, place 3 pressure counters on their forge. You're forcing them into a no-win scenario. Do they trigger the bad thing now, or risk a worse thing later?
And Nulspore's Parasitic Resurrection. You said it can alter allegiance. What does that mean in-game?
It's a special keyword, parasite. Nulspore can play a card that says, choose a structure in your opponent's junkyard, play it on your field. It gains parasite. That means at the end of your turn, it deals 1 damage to its new owner, you. But you get to use its powerful ability first. It's a dark bargain. You get to wield your opponent's power, but it slowly kills you.
So let's talk about how to fight with them. And more importantly, how to fight against them. We know their strengths are disruption and junkyard control, but what are the weaknesses?
The biggest one is backfire risk. All of their powerful mechanics can hurt the user if mismanaged. A Sinterra player can easily deck themselves out creating too many clones that force card draw. A Boilgrim player can absolutely miscalculate and wipe their own board at the wrong time.
So they require a master's touch. This is not a faction for beginners.
Definitely not. It requires extremely precise turn order and zone management. This isn't a straightforward aggro deck. It's a complex control deck that wins by making the opponent give up in frustration. And they are very weak to cleanse effects.
Okay, so if I'm going up against a Rivgore control deck, what should I be siding in?
You want cards from the Preservance faction. Their whole gimmick is protection and restoration. A card like System Restore can remove all counters from every card you control, completely undoing Rivgore's or Boilgrim's work. Purified Echo prevents anything from being played from the junkyards for a turn, shutting Nulspore down cold.
It also sounds like they have high deck building requirements. You can't just splash one of them into any old deck.
Not at all. It's an all-or-nothing strategy. A Nulspore deck, for example, needs a lot of cards that either put things into the junkyard or benefit from things being there. It's a synergy-heavy faction.
So, stepping back from the gameplay for a moment, let's talk about their narrative function again. What's the bigger story Tools and Titans is telling with them?
The most important thing to remember is that these titans are not corrupted beings. They are corruption constructs. They are what happens when the enemy stops copying you and starts innovating beyond you, in a dark direction. They are the cautionary tale of an arms race.
They symbolize planned decay, fractal betrayal, the enemy learning to outcraft the crafters.
Exactly. In the game's story arcs, like Protocol Echo Fail or the Broken Forge Spiral, they act as agents of narrative reversal. They don't just break the rules of the game, they reverse them. They force players to question the very systems and strategies that once made them feel safe. They attack the logic of what it means to win.
So what's the takeaway here, the bigger message?
That corruption isn't always an external force that breaks things from the outside. Sometimes it's a reflection. It's our own ideals, twisted, our own purpose, unbalanced, our own best intentions, pushed so far until they become the very thing we fought against. The path to hell, paved with good inventions.
And in that story, Tools and Titans becomes more than a game. It becomes a mirror. For the world it builds, and maybe for us too.
The Rustborn Quintrinity is a lesson in engineered entropy, a chilling, brilliant piece of game design that forces you to think differently.
It's a warning that the smartest tool can become the sharpest weapon against its creator. A powerful, if unsettling, thought to end on. But no matter how complex it gets, it all comes back to that foundation. In every match of Tools and Titans, your tradecraft unfolds in 6 simple moves.
Draw,
Charge,
building,
act,
clash,
end.
simplicity for the novice,
Mastery for the Titan.